Have you ever noticed that the more you force a result, the more your life feels tense, and the more distant peace becomes? Have you ever wondered why some people seem to move through problems with calm timing, while you feel like you are always sprinting inside your own mind? Welcome back to the channel, my friend. Today we are going to talk about one of the most misunderstood ideas in Buddhist practice, especially in Zen. Do not force anything on your life. Many people hear that and think it means giving up, being passive, or letting life walk over you. That is not what Zen is pointing to. Zen is pointing to the difference between wise effort and desperate forcing. Wise effort is aligned with reality. Desperate forcing is an argument with reality. Wise effort plants clean causes. Desperate forcing plants tangled karma. And when your karma is tangled, your destiny feels heavy even if you are working hard. So today I want to share a Zen-style story that looks simple, but it can quietly change how you respond to anxiety, relationships, ambition, aging, uncertainty, and the feeling that you have to control everything to be safe. We are going to explore how not forcing is not weakness. It is wisdom. Not forcing is not laziness. It is clarity. Not forcing is not resignation. It is compassion for your own nervous system and respect for the way causes and conditions actually work. If you have ever felt like you are doing everything you can and it is still not enough, this teaching is for you. If you have ever tried to push a relationship into a shape that felt secure, this teaching is for you. If you have ever tried to push your mind into calm and failed, this teaching is for you. If you have ever tried to push life into certainty and ended up exhausted, this teaching is for you. Let me begin with a scene that might feel too familiar. You wake up and immediately your mind starts negotiating with the day. It lists the tasks. It lists the fears. It lists the things that might go wrong. It tries to manage the future before breakfast. It tries to control what people will think. It tries to predict every obstacle. It tries to rush time as if time will reward you for panic. And even if you get through the day, you end it with the same feeling. The mind still scanning, the heart still bracing, the body still carrying a silent pressure. That pressure is often not coming from life itself. It is coming from forcing. Forcing is when you treat a living process like a machine, and then you punish yourself when the machine does not behave. Forcing is when you demand that a seed become a fruit by next Tuesday. Forcing is when you demand a person change on your timeline. Forcing is when you demand your mind become silent because you are tired. Forcing is when you demand that uncertainty disappear before you allow yourself to breathe. Zen looks at this and says, you are creating extra suffering. Not because effort is wrong. Effort can be beautiful. Practice is effort. Compassion is effort. Integrity is effort. The path is effort. But forcing is different. Forcing is effort contaminated by fear. Now let me tell you the Zen story. There was a young man named Ren. He lived near a mountain temple. Ren was not cruel. He was not foolish. He was simply restless. He felt like life was always a few steps behind where it should be. He wanted progress quickly. He wanted answers quickly. He wanted peace quickly. He wanted respect quickly. He wanted life to finally feel stable. He worked hard. He woke early. He trained his body. He studied. He helped his family. He did what people call responsible. Yet inside, the mind kept saying, faster. When he looked at others, he compared. When he compared, he felt behind. When he felt behind, he pushed harder. When he pushed harder, he got more tense. When he got more tense, he made mistakes. When he made mistakes, he judged himself. When he judged himself, he pushed even harder. This was his karmic loop, cause and effect, repeating like a wheel. One day Ren decided he would go to the temple and ask the old Zen teacher for a method. Not a teaching, a method, something he could do to force peace to happen. He believed peace was a result that could be earned through intensity. He climbed the mountain steps fast, almost running, because even his walk was a kind of forcing. When he arrived, he bowed quickly, like someone trying to complete a task. The teacher, an old monk named Sora, looked at Ren with calm eyes and said, "You climbed fast." Ren said, "Yes, I want to learn fast too. I want to stop my fears. I want to change my life. I want peace. Please teach me the quickest way." Sora did not answer immediately. He pointed toward the garden behind the temple and said, "Come." Ren followed him. In the garden, there were rows of plants, some young, some mature. A small stream moved quietly along stones. The air smelled like earth. The place was simple, not dramatic, and something about that simplicity irritated Ren, because he wanted fireworks. He wanted transformation. He wanted the feeling of control. Sora stopped beside a small sapling and asked, "Do you know what this is?" Ren said, "A tree." Sora smiled. "It will be a tree. Right now it is a sapling. How long will it take to become a strong tree?" Ren shrugged. "Years." Sora nodded. "And if you pull on it every day to make it grow faster, what happens?" Ren frowned. "It will break." Sora said, "Yes. Now tell me, why do you pull on your own life as if it will not break?" Ren felt a heat rise in his chest. He wanted to argue, but he also knew the teacher was pointing at something real. He said, "I am not pulling. I am trying. I am making effort. If I do not push, I will waste time. I will fall behind. I will fail." Sora looked at him gently. The teacher said, "Effort is good. Pushing is not always effort. Sometimes pushing is fear dressed as effort. It looks like strength, but it is actually panic." Ren asked, "What is the difference?" Sora said, "Effort respects condition. Pushing insults condition. Effort plants seeds and waters them. Pushing tries to squeeze fruit from dry branches. Effort works with the way life grows. Pushing fights the way life grows." Ren felt the words but did not fully understand. He asked, "Then what should I do when I am afraid?" Sora said, "First stop forcing fear to disappear. Fear is a condition. Conditions change. If you wrestle fear, you make it stronger. If you watch fear, you learn from it. If you breathe with fear, you soften it. If you act wisely while fear is present, you become free." Ren said, "But if I do not force the mind to become, it will stay noisy." Sora picked up a wooden bowl from the garden bench and dipped it into the stream, then lifted it. The water inside was cloudy because the bowl had disturbed the stream. Sora said, "Look." Ren looked. Mud swirled inside the bowl. Sora said, "If you want the water clear, do you punch it?" Ren said, "No." Sora said, "Do you shake it?" Ren said, "No." Sora said, "Then what do you do?" Ren said quietly, "You let it settle." Sora smiled. "Exactly. The mind is the same. You do not first calm. You stop stirring. You stop shaking. You stop punching. Then clarity arises by itself." Ren stood there in the garden, holding his own tightness, feeling both embarrassed and relieved. Embarrassed because he realized how much of his life was stirring. Relieved because he sensed there might be another way. Sora said, "You came for a shortcut. Zen does not give shortcuts. Zen gives the shortest path, which is reality. Reality is that everything changes in its own timing. The moment you accept timing, you suffer less. The moment you fight timing, you suffer more." Ren asked, "So I should do nothing?" Sora shook his head. "No. Do what is yours to do, but do not force what is not yours to control. That is the middle way in action." Thence, Sora gave Ren a task, not a lecture, a task. "For 7 days, you will work in this garden each morning. Your job is to water, weed, and clean. But there is one rule. You cannot rush. You cannot compete. You cannot force. You must do each movement with full presence." Ren almost laughed. It felt too simple. But he agreed. The next morning, Ren arrived early, full of ambition. He wanted to finish quickly to prove he could do it. He grabbed the watering can and started moving fast. He splashed water. He missed roots. He spilled. He stepped on small plants. He did not notice he was doing it until Sora appeared and said softly, "You are watering your impatience, not the garden." Ren felt ashamed. He slowed down, but even his slowing down was tense, because he was forcing himself to slow down. He was trying to perform calm. Sora saw this too. Do not force slowness. Just notice your urge to force. Let the urge be seen. Then move. So Ren tried again. He lifted the can, poured slowly, watched the soil darken, watched the water soak in. He pulled weeds gently, feeling the roots release from earth. He noticed the sound of the stream. He noticed birds. He noticed his own breath. For short moments, his mind became quiet. Not because he commanded it, but because he stopped feeding it. But then a thought appeared. This is wasting time. You should be doing something bigger. You are falling behind. And the chest tightened again. Ren noticed the tightening. He remembered the bowl of water. If he shook the bowl, it would stay cloudy. If he let it be, it would settle. So he practiced letting the thought pass. That day after the garden work, he felt oddly tired, but not in the burned out way. In the honest way. Like his body had done something real and his mind had stopped running for a while. On the second day, he became restless again. He wanted results. He wanted peace to be permanent already. He wanted the teaching to work like a switch. He asked Sora, "Why is it not working yet?" Sora said, "Notice your question. You are forcing the practice to deliver. You are trying to control the fruit. Practice is the seed. Your job is to water. Life decides when it ripens." Ren felt annoyed, but later he realized the teacher had touched the deepest habit. Ren did not only force tasks. He forced outcomes. He forced timelines. He forced identity. He forced people. That evening, Ren went home and saw how he forced his family conversations too. When someone looked worried, he tried to fix them quickly. When someone was quiet, he pushed them to talk. When someone disagreed, he tried to win. He thought he was being helpful, but he was often just trying to remove his own discomfort with uncertainty. He remembered the sapling. If you pull, it breaks. So he tried something new with his younger sister, who had been stressed about her own life. Instead of forcing advice, he listened. He did not interrupt. He did not correct. He did not rush. He simply sat with her feelings. Something shifted. His sister spoke more freely. She cried. She laughed a little. She thanked him for not trying to fix her. Ren was surprised. He realized not forcing could create closeness. Forcing often created distance. This is karma too. If you plant pressure, you harvest resistance. If you plant space, you harvest trust. On the third day, Ren noticed something in his own mind. He had a habit of trying to force himself to be a certain person. The successful person, the calm person, the admired person, the person who never falls behind. And every time he failed to match that image, he felt shame. Sora told him, "This is another kind of forcing. You are forcing identity, but identity is also impermanent. The self is a process, not a statue. When you force yourself to be a statue, you suffer." Ren asked, "Then who am I?" Sora said, "You are the one who is aware. You are the one who can choose. You are the one who can practice." Ren did not fully understand, but he felt something loosen. Over the next days, Ren continued working in the garden. Some mornings he felt peaceful. Other mornings his mind was loud. He learned an important lesson. Practice is not a mood. Practice is the repeated return. Even if your mind is loud, you can still return. Even if fear is present, you can still return. Even if impatience is present, you can still return. This is the heart of Zen reigning. Now, on the seventh day, something happened that became the turning point of the story. Wren arrived at the garden and saw a part of the fence had fallen in a storm. Some plants were bent, a few were damaged. Water had washed soil away in one corner. Wren felt the old urge to force. He wanted to repair it quickly. He wanted to fix everything now. He wanted to prove control. He grabbed tools and started rushing. Sora appeared and said, "Stop." Wren froze. Sora said, "Look at what you are doing." Wren said, "Fixing the damage." Sora said, "You are adding damage. Your hands are shaking. Your breath is tight. You are angry at the storm. You are fighting what already happened. This is not repair. This is reaction." Wren felt the truth of it. He was not only fixing the fence. He was trying to erase the fact that the storm happened. He was forcing reality to reverse. Sora said, "First, accept what is." The storm came. The fence fell. Some plants are damaged. This is impermanence. Now breathe. Then act. Wren stood still. He breathed. His shoulders lowered. His jaw softened. He looked at the garden again. The damage was real, but it was not the end of the world. Sora said, "Now we do the next wise step. Not the whole future. The next step." They worked together calmly. They lifted the fence piece by piece. They supported the bent plants. They moved soil back where it belonged. They did not panic. They did not rush. They did not perform. They simply worked with what was in front of them. By noon, the garden looked stable again. Not perfect, but alive. Wren felt something he had not felt in years. Quiet confidence. Not confidence that nothing would ever go wrong, but confidence that he could meet what goes wrong without losing himself. Sora said, "Do you see now?" Wren said, "I think so. When I force, I become blind. When I stop forcing, I can see what to do." Sora nodded. "That is wisdom. Wisdom is not the absence of problems. Wisdom is the ability to respond without creating extra suffering." Wren asked, "Is this what it means to not force anything on your life?" Sora said, "Yes. Do not force outcomes. Do not force people. Do not force timing. Do not force emotions to disappear. Do what is yours to do with right effort. Then release the rest." Wren asked, "But what about ambition and goals?" Sora said, "Have goals, but do not let goals become chains. You can walk toward a mountain without trying to drag the mountain toward you. You can train without hating your body. You can improve without insulting your current self. You can plan without demanding certainty." Wren asked, "What about destiny?" Sora said, "Destiny is shaped by causes and conditions. When you force, you plant causes of tension, conflict, and exhaustion. When you practice wise effort, you plant causes of clarity, compassion, and resilience. Those causes become your destiny." Wren listened. The word destiny felt less like a mystery and more like a direction. "Now, my friend, let us bring this story into your life. Because you might be thinking, this is a nice story, but my problems are real. My bills are real. My relationship pain is real. My anxiety is real. My health uncertainty is real. How does not forcing help? Not forcing does not remove reality. Not forcing removes the extra war you add to reality." Let us talk about relationships. Many people try to force love. They force closeness. They force reassurance. They force someone to communicate on their schedule. They force someone to heal faster. They force someone to understand immediately. They force apologies. They force forgiveness. They force a future. Forcing creates pressure. Pressure creates distance. Distance creates fear. Fear creates more forcing. This is how a relationship becomes a battlefield. Not forcing does not mean you accept disrespect. Not forcing means you stop trying to control another person's inner world. You communicate clearly. You set boundaries. You choose timing wisely. You take responsibility for your own nervous system. You allow space. You allow impermanence. You allow the relationship to show you what it truly is. And when you do that, something often happens. Either the relationship becomes healthier because pressure decreases, or you see clearly that it cannot become what you are trying to force, and you free yourself. Either way, clarity is better than clinging. Now let us talk about anxiety. Many people try to force anxiety to disappear. They fight it. They shame it. They try to think it away. They demand calm. They demand certainty. They demand that the future be solved. The result is more anxiety, because anxiety feeds on struggle. Not forcing means you stop wrestling the feeling. You name it. Anxiety is here. You breathe. You soften the body. You return attention to what is present. You ask, what is one wise step now? Sometimes the wise step is action. Sometimes it is rest. Sometimes it is asking for help. Sometimes it is letting the wave pass. This is how anxiety loses power. It stops being an emergency you must fight and becomes a passing condition you can meet. Now let us talk about work and goals. Forcing at work looks like trying to control every outcome. Trying to be perfect. Trying to never be criticized. Trying to be admired. Trying to be indispensable. Trying to do everything. This leads to burnout and resentment. Not forcing means right effort. You do what matters. You plan responsibly. You communicate clearly. You improve skills. You take feedback. You rest. You accept that some outcomes depend on conditions beyond your control. You stopped reading your worth as a report card. This creates steadiness. And steadiness is a competitive advantage that does not destroy you. Now let us talk about the body and aging. Many people force the body. They punish it. They compare it. They demand it stay young. They treat aging like betrayal. They force an identity built on appearance or performance. Zen says, the body changes. That is impermanence. Do not insult impermanence. Respect the body as your companion on the path. Care for it with wisdom. Move it. Feed it. Rest it. But do not force it to be a statue. When you stop forcing the body, you can age with dignity. The mind becomes less frightened. The heart becomes softer. Compassion becomes more natural. Now the deepest place forcing hides is in the mind's relationship with time. Forcing is the belief that you must hurry your life to be safe. Zen says, time will not obey panic. If you rush, you miss your own life. If you rush, you speak harshly. If you rush, you make bad decisions. If you rush, you cannot listen. If you rush, you lose gratitude. Not forcing does not mean you move slowly in every situation. It means you move appropriately. Sometimes appropriate is fast. Sometimes appropriate is slow. The key is that your movement comes from clarity, not from fear. That is wisdom. Now, I want to share a practical inner sentence you can use when you catch yourself forcing. Because most people do not realize they are forcing until they are already exhausted. Here is the sentence. I will do the next wise step, and I will release what is not mine to control. Say it gently, not as a command, as a reminder. I will do the next wise step, and I will release what is not mine to control. This sentence contains the whole teaching. Next wise step is right effort. Release what is not mine to control is non-attachment. The combination creates peace. Now, let us talk about compassion, because not forcing is impossible without compassion. Why do people force? They force because they are afraid. They force because uncertainty triggers old survival patterns. They force because they think love must be secured. They force because they think worth must be proven. They force because they think safety must be controlled. So when you notice forcing, do not insult yourself. That would be another kind of forcing. Forcing yourself to be different through cruelty. Instead, bring compassion first. Of course I am trying to force. I am scared. I want safety. I want love. I want certainty. Then bring wisdom. Forcing will not create the safety I want. It will create tension. Then bring practice. Breathe. Soften. Next wise step. This is how the path works. Now, I want to speak to the part of you that might still resist this teaching, because you are afraid that if you stop forcing, you will lose everything. This is the great misunderstanding. Not forcing does not mean you stop acting. Not forcing means you stop acting from panic. When you act from panic, you often sabotage what you want. When you act from wisdom, you often create better outcomes, even if you cannot guarantee them. Think of the garden. If you water and care, the plant grows in its timing. If you pull, you break it. Life is like that. Relationships are like that. Healing is like that. Learning is like that. Trust is like that. Even your own mind is like that. When you stop pulling, things often begin to align. Not because the universe is rewarding you, but because you stopped interfering with the natural process. This is why people say, when you finally stop forcing, life falls into place. It does not mean life becomes perfect. It means your inner friction decreases. And with less friction, your energy becomes available for what matters. Now, let me close the story of Ren, because every Zen story has a quiet ending. Not fireworks, just a shift in the heart. After the 7th day, Ren asked if he could continue coming to the temple garden. Sora said yes, but with the same rule. No rushing, no competing, no forcing. Ren continued for months, and slowly, his life changed. He became less reactive in conversation. He listened more. He became less controlling in relationships. He trusted more. He became less frantic about goals. He took steady steps. He became less harsh with himself. He practiced compassion. He still had fears, but fear no longer ran the whole day. He still had uncertainty, but uncertainty no longer felt like a personal threat. He still had setbacks, but setbacks no longer became identity. He learned to meet impermanence without panic. He learned to meet karma with responsibility rather than blame. He learned to meet destiny as a direction shaped by practice, not as a rigid script. One day, years later, someone younger came to the temple and asked Ren for advice. They said, "I need to fix my life fast. Tell me the quickest method." Ren smiled, because he recognized himself. He brought the person to the garden. He pointed at a sapling. Then he asked, "If you pull on it every day, what happens?" The person said, "It breaks." Ren nodded. Then he said, "Do not force anything on your life. Do the next wise step. Then breathe. Then do the next wise step. This is how you grow without breaking." Now, my friend, I want to end with something personal in tone, because this teaching creates deep resonance for many people. Most of the exhaustion you feel is not from life alone. It is from fighting life. Most of the tension you feel is not from responsibility alone. It is from panic disguised as responsibility. Most of the suffering you feel is not from change alone. It is from refusing change. So the invitation today is simple. Stop pulling on the sapling. Stop shaking the bowl of water. Stop trying to force the future to arrive faster than it can. Do what you can do. Do it with a clear mind. Do it with a kind heart. Then release. That is Zen. Now I would love to hear from you. Where do you notice yourself forcing the most right now? And what would it look like to replace forcing with one wise step and one long exhale today? Share your story in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. Hit like, and consider becoming a member so we can keep creating long, honest teachings together. Until next time, keep practicing, keep breathing, and keep walking the path with compassion.